Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Planet Muse. We here are joined by Rocky Ravic of a heavy metal band called Mystery. Thanks for coming on the show, Rocky.
No problem, my friend. Thanks for having me here.
Excellent. For those who don't know, Mystery was first formed in 2010 by a group of 12 and 13-year-old boys in the western suburbs of Melbourne, Australia, the home of legendary AC/DC. The band since released their debut album titled 2013, which was supported with tours in 2012 and 2013. The band performed on main stages all over the world, including Japan, the USA, Australia, and Europe, with bands such as MOTLEY CRUE, Iron Maiden, Sweet, Europe, MANOWAR, MOTORHEAD, MEGADETH, and many more. Mystery has also played at many of the world's greatest rock festivals, such as Ost Fest, Topfest, and Rocklahoma, with Guns N' Roses, Kid Rock, Cheap Trick, Twisted Sister, Alice in Chains, KORN, and many more. The second album, From Dusk to Dawn, was released in 2014 with several years of touring to come. Mystery graced the stages of Rocklahoma again in 2016, playing to a whopping 15,000 plus captivated audience, and continued playing international dates to 2018. The band took a break to then begin production on the third album. In 2019, the album was ready for release with the world tour ready to go, but the world had come to an immediate stop. The album Live, Life and Loud was then released by European label Metropolis Record and independently by the band in Australia in between lockdowns during the pandemic. 2024 comes a new dawn for Mystery. The fourth album, Mind Pollution, comes out globally, which came out on the 15th of July via Metropolis Records for EU, Hellion Records for South America, Rubicon Records for Japan, and Metal Warriors for Australia and the rest of the world. And recently, Mystery just completed a sold-out hometown album launch and hit the road in Japan, doing 8 shows of packed houses. The band has hit number 4 on hard rock, heavy metal at Tower Records. Wow. Congratulations, Rocky, and thank you again for coming on the show. Such a pleasure to have you here.
No
And
worries at all, man. Yeah. That's a little bio. So, yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, it's a good introduction for you. So when did you first catch the rock and roll bug?
Look, for me, I think it's something I was born with. I grew up in a family that was raised on heavy metal and hard rock. And, my dad, obviously, he used to work with a lot of bands and do music videos. And he worked with bands like MANOWAR and Rhapsody and all this stuff. So as a little kid, I'd have people like Doro Pesh, staying over at my house. Always had the long hair. When I was, let's say, maybe 3 years old, I used to go steal the Twisted Sister come out and play VHS tape, and I used to pump it on the TV. I used to put it on the old school and watch those music videos and that little mini movie that Twisted Sister did almost daily and religiously. So I've always loved my hard rock and heavy metal. Big fan of all those sort of bands, anything from Poison all the way to Pantera and Cannibal Corpse. If it's heavy metal, I'm there for it.
Yeah, I definitely know that from personal experience hanging around you at your concerts and stuff, man. You're just full of energy, full of beans, and you just embody rock and roll, dude. Hence why I'm wearing the Mystery shirt. So
Yes.
representing.
Love it.
um, so what was the first band you heard and what kind of impression it made on you?
Well, look, if I guess for me, there's monumental moments that probably changed and made a real pathway for my taste in music. Those VHS tapes of Twisted Sister and watching a Be Cruel to Your School with Alice Cooper and Dee Snider, that was something that definitely paved the way for me. There's another moment where I was an avid fan of the Power Rangers as a kid. And there was a Power Rangers movie, and there's that scene at the end of the movie where the Silver Ranger is then the fireworks are going off and Dreams Van Halen plays. And
Oh, no.
just the other day I heard the song on the radio and I had to stop my car, stop driving, and I said, man, I love Van Halen. This song is it speaks to me. It's something else. So all those sort of bands and artists, paved the way for me. Those two in particular. I think in my young teens, Skid Row was sort of the band that really, hit the nail on the head for me. The album Slave to the Grind, and the self-titled, that both those albums really stuck out to me. And I had a massive Bon Jovi and Poison phase as well. So then going into my late teens, it probably went into Megadeth and stuff. But yeah, the earliest sort of memories I have, probably the Van Halen, Dreams, the Power Rangers movie, and those VHS tapes, and watching all the all those music videos. Like my old man had all the music videos on VHS saved, and I'd just grab the volume hits and I'd just chuck them on, and I'd be watching videos like Kane Roberts and stuff like that at that age. So yeah.
Awesome influences for sure. So, w- to answer that question, what are your go-to bands for inspiration in music now?
Look, I'd say go-to bands for inspiration. I always go back to the classics, and I'm always listening to the classics. But there's some great new bands that are out there. Reckless Love being one of them, Crash Diet, and those sort of bands. They really do it for me. I love that sort of style of music and everything as well. So massive fan. But like I said, I listen to everything in terms of heavy metal and hard rock. So all those bands out there that are keeping the flag alive and still rocking and playing heavy metal music. I'm out there to support all of them. It doesn't matter where you're from. I listen to heavy metal all the way from Japan and Australia and the whole lot. If you're wondering why I'm walking and it looks like there's a brick wall, but I'm walking, it's because I'm on a treadie right now, training for the next tour. Now I'm just moving towards a charger, but the background thing's funny because the background's not moving and I'm just sort of floating around.
It's like you're in another dimension, bro.
Yeah. Another dimension of heavy metal, man. But yeah, look, I'm a big fan of discovering new music still, even at my age. And like I said, for me, massive influences like all the way from Japan and just random countries as well. I manage a gym, and I've had a member come up to me once. He said, "Dude, you got to check out this band from Indonesia." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, who are they?" And all of a sudden, I've got their stuff saved on my Spotify, and I'm listening to some Indonesian band that sounds like the Scorpions. So massive variety there.
That's amazing. So when did you start Mystery and how did that come about?
I started the band when I was 12, 13 years old. So let's see. There was a band called The Angels from Croatia, all female hard rock band, and they were on tour. My dad was actually running the whole tour and the promotion and booking it all. So they did an all ages show at the Croatian House at the Dom in Footscray. And essentially, for me, I was able to go see a rock show at that age. It was awesome. So went out, watched the show, and that's where I sort of met the drummer. And he told me that him and his friend were jamming, and they could play all these songs, and how great they were. And I was like, oh well, I just picked up the guitar a few weeks ago. I properly picked it up. Like I always had a guitar as a little kid, and I'd run around the house and shred around and didn't know what I was doing. But I properly picked it up only a few weeks prior to that. So I ended up going to the garage, and Lord behold, they could barely play one song, let alone like one section of a song. But I was already riffing ahead. So meeting other young people my age at that time that played similar music, listened to similar music, it was awesome. And we were able to connect. And I had a vision for a band, and I told the guys, I said, in a couple of years' time, we're going to be touring the world, And I'm one of those guys that would vision crazy stuff and I'd make it happen. So me as a 13-year-old, was telling these guys, yeah, we're going to tour the world, give it 2 years. Like we're going to make an album. We're going to do this and that. And, everyone at school at the time would be like, yeah, right. As if, your teachers, in one ear out the other, no one wanted to have a bar of it. But, Lord behold, when we're 15, we were touring with MOTLEY CRUE and playing shows at massive festivals overseas. So, it happened. Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. So, how did you juggle being, an early teenage rock star and getting back to normal life in school? Like, how was that coping with
Look,
that?
it was okay. I didn't really have an issue with it. I guess for me, being that age and studying at the start, the schools and stuff were really skeptical on what's going on, and they'd get into like, oh, you can't be doing this. Your attendance this and that, and the argument always was, well, if a kid goes and starts training for the Olympics and all that sort of stuff, or state teams and stuff, they get excused from school. So how come it's
Yeah.
allowed in sports, but it's not considered something serious if it's music related? Like you got a band that's playing with Motley Crue and playing with Guns N' Roses and at that age touring the world, like and you're not going to get around it. It was a bit of a shock. So I feel like our band almost paved the way to educate the schooling system on, hey, it's not always just about sports and that stuff. And not, I love my sport. Like I used to play soccer for Melbourne Knights, big MPL soccer team. But for us, it was paving the way for music and the art avenues, at such an early age. So I think the band played a massive important factor to that and how the school system actually worked and had leeway for those sort of things. So being able to go out there and travel and come back to school and sort of use the experiences that we had on tour into our schooling was really great, especially year 11 and 12 when I was going through those final couple years at school. And, I'd spend, let's say, 4 or 5 months of the year overseas. At that age, I did VCAL, I did two vet subjects, but I still wanted to complete year 11 and 12. So we sort of worked around, okay, we're going to, let's say literacy, okay, I'm going to write up about my band doing these tours and I'm going to use my interviews that I've actually done with, magazines and stuff like that. And we're going to use that as a submission for a work if it's, based on the grounds of this and that. So I'd grab things that would sort of be relatable to what I was doing in real life outside of school. And I'd bring that stuff to school and say, well, I want to be graded on this. This is related to, said topic in the real life situation. And I'm going to bring that to school and write about it like that. So it sort of worked for me because I was able to write about what I was doing. It was like two birds with one stone. I'm able to do interviews and focus on doing these interviews and write up really well. And obviously I'd wanted to, be really cool about it. So I'd put a lot of focus into that sort of stuff, but that's probably helped me with the way I speak and everything as well. I feel like the lessons learned and the education I got from the band stuff almost developed me quite heavily. And it sort of shaped, where I'm at right now as well. So super stoked on that.
Yeah, that's fantastic that you were leading by example and being a trailblazer in that. And yeah, I definitely agree. Like Australian culture doesn't really value the creative arts as much as they should. Like you said, they tend to just focus on the footy and the meat pies. It's like
Yeah,
it's
and
all
I
about
think
AFL.
it's good to see a culture change because when you think about it, you got like some of the biggest rock bands in the world, like AC/DC is from here, and
Yeah.
bands like that before they get noticed in their own country, they've got to go overseas and be noticed. And
Mm.
it gets to a point where even a band like Airborne, they're selling out stadiums over in Europe. They're playing and headlining biggest rock festivals in the world, and they come back home and it's almost like they're regular Joes. You go see them hanging out at the local bars and you say hi, but it's like, dude, these guys are some of the biggest musicians in the world.
Wow.
So it's a how Australia is, and that's why being a musician, you really want to push the envelope and you want to really believe in yourself because there is avenues out there. And I guess for the genre of music and things like that, a lot of people do tend to, okay, let's try build a network overseas. Let's try get noticed in another territory. Then the notice comes here. That's how it is, I guess.
Excellent. So tell us about the albums you've released and the tours and some of the big names you've worked with that you haven't mentioned yet. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
no
like
problem, man. Well,
yeah.
I think there was some notable things you spoke about. Our first world tour when we were 15. Our first international show was at a festival called Ost Fest in Romania. We were able to play the main stage of that festival, being our first international show at the ages of 14 and 15, which is monumental. We played with who else played on the day that we played? We had MANOWAR. MANOWAR played, and Europe, the band that plays the final countdown. And there was like, who else was on the bill at the festival? We had Wasp, Motley Crue, Dimmu Borgir, Exodus, like just a crazy, insane lineup, like unreal. And we were the band in the mix of it. And we played with MOTORHEAD. I got to give a head nod to Lemmy, and I got to hang out and backstage with Joey Tempest and the guys from Europe, and we're situated right next to them, and they invited us over, and everyone was so accommodating. So that was a life-changing experience. Even Joey DeMeo from MANOWAR watched our sound check. He never watches anyone's sound check, apparently. He came out, watched our sound check, shook my hand and said, "Hey, boy," and walked off. And I was like, whoa, okay. You could feel the presence of some people. And that was one of those moments. We played many, many, many festivals. We played with Twisted Sister, with Iron Maiden, but we're always on the main stages of these festivals. And I feel like the biggest pathway for us in terms of, like, let's say, playing our biggest captivated audience would have been that Rocklahoma moment. We played at the festival for a couple of times. We played on the smaller stage, and we worked our way up at that festival. And we played first time to 1,000 people, the second time to a couple thousand people, and because of our our presence there and positive feedback, the festival actually turned around and asked us to play one of the main stages. And that's where we're, all that hard work, promotion, and effort that we put in going there the last couple of years, advertising the band, walking around the festival campgrounds, handing out flyers and free merch to people, and just going crazy with promoting. That really paid its dividends, because when we hit that big stage, 15,000 people were standing up, and it wasn't just we're playing. What happened was, and this is where it gets really crazy, there was a tornado or hurricane warnings or whatever, and Lincoln Park was playing one of the main stages, and they actually decided to leave because they heard about the warnings. They didn't think they'd be able to fly out the next day to make it to the next festivals. So they actually canned their show on the day and they left. The festival grounds were closed. It was hallowed grounds around, and we were stuck backstage with Escape the Fate and Steel Panther. And it's just us, we've got our tour buses there. We're there. We're in the catering. It's just us three. And, back then, it Escaped the Fate. They had their tour bus. So, we invited them over. Then all of a sudden, Steel Panther starts hanging around, and, we're all having a great old time. And then the reality kicked in. Oh, shit, are we actually going to play? Like, we came all the way. We've been invited, and the festival's empty. The campgrounds are empty. Like, no one's there. And then after a couple hours, the festival was reopened. Now, the concern for us was we were going to be playing as soon as the festival opened. And due to the time constraints now, our set time was actually being reduced slightly, but the time that we're playing is now clashing with the other main stage. So instead of having main stage A and B, and you go watch one band, then the other, and it rotates, we're now clashing at the same time as Great White, one of our most favorite bands. And I'm thinking, oh no. And due to the clash as well, like as soon as we got off stage, Sebastian Bach started playing on the other stage. So it was back-to-back bands. And there's two main stages happening. And we're thinking, who's going to watch us over Great White and Sebastian Bach? So the nerves kicked in, and I've never felt nervous on stage, man. I'll tell you that. We were doing our sound check, and first there was 10 people there, then there was 20, and we start plugging in, and we got a quick 5 minutes to set things up, and you just see like thousands upon thousands of people are walking to the stage, and I just hear my name being screamed while we're doing our line check by hundreds out there, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, Great White's playing right over there. Like, why is everyone going to see us? And all the mystery fans were there, and the support was huge. And not just that, other bands that we played with in the past and all those bands from the festival that we met, and everyone's in the crowd. And I'm just seeing them roll in and roll in. And then all of a sudden it's too much to handle. There's 15,000 plus people captivated standing, minus how many people are in the lawn chairs in the back watching us as well. And I just remember hitting that first chord and it was loud, man. It was loud. And and the crowd roared and bam, there you go, man. It was like what a successful moment. And I remember the night before on the main stage watching Scorpions, and I had a lot of personal stuff happening at the time as well, which I don't really want to dive deep on, but let's say I was going through a really hard time, and that sort of stuff was sort of surfacing as I was at the festival. So I remember receiving some pretty bad news.
Are you looking for a place to develop your passion and skills for music? Join us at Planet Muse, where you can learn more about singing, playing, performing, technology, and the music industry. It's free, it's fun, and you can earn a qualification if you so desire. See details here where you can sign up today or find out more.
And personal regards, and watching Scorpions play Windsor Change, and all of a sudden I'm full of tears. I'm thinking, oh no, what's going on? But it was like one of those weekends that it was unforgettable. It was a great success, and it was due to all the hard work that was put in, and the fans actually coming out to support us as well. So super stoked.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Very inspirational. So, when it comes to like being a band manager, what are the things that you look out for when you're recruiting? Like whether it could be like positive or negative things that you're looking for in recruiting band
Yeah.
members.
Look, I think for me, I was fortunate enough to learn so much from all the bands, management people, record labels, and my old man when I was young. So the idea was that I'd be receiving all this support, and then once I was an adult, I'd be able to take over management and things like that. Not many bands self-manage when they're doing these sort of big tours, and they book their own shows and that sort of stuff. So I've been studying the craft for quite some time, and I think look at green flags on band members and business people that you want to associate with. I think first things first is people that aren't under the influence and things like that. That's a big factor. You want people that are clear-headed and people that show good characteristics. So just involving yourself with people that are positive attitude, they work hard. That's going to be your first go-to. Anything else away from that is going to detract, and you're only as strong as your weakest link. That's the reality. So, I like to work with people that I connect with on a personal level somewhat as well. But I'd like to know that they're reliable, and I can, even though I run the show and I'm managing everything and stuff, I want people that are reliable, and they're going to be there, and they're going to believe in what I'm actually doing as well.
Cool, awesome. So how do you go about writing songs?
Writing songs, it's funny. Usually, I either start with the guitar riff in itself, and it's usually a main riff, of course, and then the song sort of just builds itself around it. When I write songs, I'm the sort of guy that I just go to the first idea, and if the first idea is good, I roll with it and I just keep going. So I don't really sit there and nitpick and go through each section. Maybe we're in the studio a little bit more, but as I'm writing, it's the first melody that's coming to my head, the first sort of idea after that main riff and the chords that are sort of suiting. I just follow with that, because that's sort of the way I look at it is, if a song's catchy, then I'd consider that a good song, even if it's annoying and you hate it. It's still catchy and it still sticks in your head. When you leave a show, or you leave anywhere, and that song sticks to your head, that's the best song of the night. So the idea is, if that's the first thing that's throwing through my head, and if I'm able to output that, then it should be relatable to people, because common sense wise, it might be the first thing that they think of too. To a term where like if the riff's interesting enough, you pick a few chords, you go that way, then you have a good song. So, there's that stuff too. And sometimes I might just think of a cool chorus in my head, like Dead by Sunday when I wrote that song. I just had
Yeah.
the hook, like, with the lyric, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I just thought, okay, what chords fit nicely underneath the actual melody I'm trying to bring out, and then you build your song around there. I don't know if you've noticed, but with Mystery, every song's got to have a guitar solo. Even if
Yeah.
the song doesn't have a guitar solo and we're doing a cover of it, we're adding a guitar solo in it. So, we just got to keep that 6-string electric, shredding going on.
Oh,
And
nice.
and there you go. Voila, that's what we got. Follow a simple rock song structure, and we add a little, give or take here and there, and that's it.
Badass. Um, so what's involved in producing and recording original music and covers?
So I self-record everything. So I do all that sort of stuff. With my setup. So I've got a little home studio set up. It did start with just a USB interface and learning how to send raw files to people that can mix and everything like that. But it's evolved into, after years of studies and then practicing and then writing demos and just playing around with programs and stuff. Now I pretty much do everything myself. I still do, like, because I do mixing and everything now too. I still tend, if it's my music, I like to, sort of get it up to a level of standard that I'm happy with, so I can express what I'm actually, recording and the sounds that I want to deliver. But I'll actually send it off, and this is probably just a personal thing, because I'd want my stuff to be heard by someone else's ears, because they can probably judge it better than I can, especially when I'm so deep into a project, writing, recording. It's in my head. I'll give those stems and those files to someone else, to then say, okay, I can see what you want. Yeah, this is what you're going to deliver. And they're going to add their 2 cents to it and sort of produce it that way. That's because I, predominant songwriter. When we write with the guys, we'll come up with an idea or whatever it is. But yeah, pretty much everything's recorded at my studio, and then I send it off. And I've got all the mics, all the setup. Got some really nice gear, and got some really cool interfaces online and stuff, and plugins that we use as well. So it's a nice mix. But it's super easy now to get done. But yeah, it did take a while to sort of get the craft going. But yeah.
True, true. So how do you organize a Survivor tour?
I'll use my last tour, the Japan tour that we did. Well, we haven't been there since 2012. Like, as a band, I've been there multiple times on holiday because I love the country. But we hadn't been there for quite some time. So I was able to, I guess, look at booking shows and things like that. I'm working in a different territory where people probably aren't understanding my language, and things are lost in translation, and I don't know how the music industry works there, how to book venues, etc. So, I reached out, I got some help from some people that I've met over the years, and I just started discussing with them ideas and what we want to do. Now, they had faith in us going there. I didn't realize at what risk these bands that were working with me to book the shows and stuff had, because when you're booking a venue in Japan, for example, you're liable to pay a certain cost, as an overhead. And if you don't sell enough tickets, you owe money. So you can be losing money potentially, especially if you don't pull the numbers. So we had people that had faith in the band because we've been there, we're a known brand there, and we're wanting to rebuild and do something cool. We had the support, and the risk paid off its dividends for those bands. Like, we're able to walk away every show, making funds as well. So we're able to sell enough tickets, pack the houses enough, and at the end of the day, as well as sell merchandise and stuff too. So the cost for it, like, ended up being a very cheap holiday, let's say, and we did stay there for a whole month. We only played 8 shows, so we're able to do heaps of cool sightseeing and everything as well. That's something I like to do too. If I've got the time, I'll always mix a bit of holiday and a bit of fun, and get to experience the country while I'm there. You're paying for a ticket to go all the way there, you might as well experience it and enjoy it. But those DIY tours, like, usually an agent would sort of book the shows for you and they'd take a fee and stuff. I like a bit of a challenge, and that's where it was cool, because I was able to book that tour. Now I've got about potentially 15 shows locked in for us later in the year in Japan. There's more offers on the line as well. But you know, that work that we put in, now there's a network, there's people I can reach out to. I know how it works. All the venues are happy to have us. We can just go there and pump out shows. And I've got a new project actually I'm doing with a couple famous Japanese bands. And
Oh,
we're
cool.
actually we've already booked a tour there in April. So it's going to be an all-star sort of project with some really famous and exciting people I'm working with there. Not just in the heavy metal world, but even in the video game world. I'm working with
Oh,
someone who
cool.
does soundtrack music for Guilty Gear, which is a massive game. So yeah, some really cool
What?
stuff. But all that little bit of hard work has paid off. And now next time we go tour there, we're going to have twice as many shows, and we're going to be able to do it in 2 week frame. And, you know, it's going to make it a lot more cost effective and easy as well. But, you know, it was a great success doing the first thing ourselves. Booking festivals and all that stuff too. Look, it's hard work. You know, that's why a lot of people, if they don't know how to do it, you know, if they don't know where to reach out for the advice and ask the questions, then they'll just pay someone to actually do that for them. You know, or they get linked up with an agency that can do that for them. If I guess the band would be established enough, you know, if they have the connection for it. So I'm always happy to give out advice and help bands too. I think that's one of the things my dad used to do with his record label back in the day. He would essentially you know, be helping bands out, doing music videos and offering them the advice or even managing them. So I feel like it's just my second nature, I guess, to sort of do the same thing. So even with the younger bands in the scene, I'm always willing to help out in whatever way I can.
Oh, that's very generous of you, Rocky. That's great to hear that
It's only
you're
at what
giving.
cost? Price of
Yeah,
rock and roll, man. Little kids out there, you just keep playing rock and roll, and and it all work out.
that's it. That's it. In your collection of guitars and amps, what are your favorites?
I think you've seen my collection.
Yeah.
I've got close to 40 guitars. I had over 40, but I gave a few away to family members and friends and stuff. You know, as gifts and everything. But look, I've got a collection of about 10 Mockingbird guitars, both BC Rich and Bernie, or Japanese, like Fernandez. I'm pretty excited with the Japanese ones that I got because that factory actually closed down while we're on tour in Japan. So the brand is like liquidated and bankrupt. They filed for bankruptcy. So my last or latest addition to my guitar family was actually purchased secondhand shopping on the day of the liquidation before the news got out to the general public. And that guitar that I bought for $500 is now worth $7,000. The one I brought the year prior for $1,000 secondhand shopping is now worth $35,000. And they're all like ex Japan guitars, like Hide, the guitarist from ex Japan, rest in peace. They're his model guitars. And it's funny because I always played Mockingbird guitars with BC Rich because I have the BC Rich endorsement. So I just thought I'd dabble a little bit and, you know, play the Japanese instruments, and I love them. I've got a couple guitars that were gifted to me from good friend Joe Ochapinti. He makes custom guitars. He does really crazy work, J&J Custom. And he's given me a one with like 80s like Malmsteen, like Floyd Rose, the original Floyd Rose, and all these really crazy parts. So I've got that. I've got a big collection of other guitars and bass guitars and the whole lot. So yeah, I love it all. What was the tail end of that question? Because I just got obsessed with talking about my guitars now.
Like if it's like if there's one particular guitar that you absolutely love or amp or that's your favorite
Oh
in your
geez.
collection.
Well, I've got my AVH 5150. That's brilliant. I've got my Hughes and
Nice.
Kettner Switchblade, which was originally Stone Sour's touring amp here in Australia. So I actually
Oh
own that
wow.
one because of the endorsement. You know, they pretty much they swapped over. They were using different gear, different Hughes and Kettner gear, and I was offered to actually take that amp. So yeah, I took it. Both those amps are monster amps. I've got heaps of heaps of pedals actually. I've got a massive collection of pedals that I've been building, I guess, from the start of COVID. I sort of, you know, didn't know what to do with my time, and I just kept buying guitar pedals, and then I was receiving guitar pedals as gifts because I was so obsessed with getting guitar pedals. And Then when I was in Japan, the last like 3 or 4 visits since, I've been like recklessly buying guitar pedals and just going secondhand shopping and getting the best deals ever. So I've got like 50 guitar pedals now. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, massive amounts of gear. I like the old school, like plug in the amp and play. I do like the digital stuff. Like I got the New DSP plugins, which are really cool, especially if you want to record something easy. Bam, you're good to go. Sounds fantastic, but I've got all the analog stuff too, and the tubes, and I just you can't get away from that sound. And I always get compliments about my live tone. So
Yeah.
some say it's in the fingers. I mean, yes, it's in the fingers, but the guitar pedals are sick and your amps, they do help. So if you get the right tone that fits you, man, just go for it. And it's funny because sometimes I'll play with completely different pedals or amps and I somehow just like EQ it the way to make it just sound like it's just, I don't know, that sound that I have again. So,
Mm.
I can make, I don't know, it's a bit weird. I sort of just have this like very distinct tone that I like and I just keep sticking with that. So yeah.
Cool. Just another question is like, you don't have to go specific calls, but you can give times where you felt music actually helped you get through the rough times. As musicians, like most people, we have some downtimes as well,
Yeah.
where people struggle with anxiety, depression, or whatever, or sadness, or whatever. How has music helped you like pick yourself up, essentially, like,
I
and
feel
take
like
on life again?
yeah, music's everything. To be honest with you, and it gets you right there in the heart. There's a lot of music out there. There's a lot of bands, and they're expressing their own personal life and their experiences, and to a form of a music, some sort of wave that goes through the air that sounds really cool. And when you hear it, it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, the sound wave's cool, but it hits you in a different feel. So I feel like listening to the hard rock style music and everything, like the lyrical content, if it's especially if it's relatable to something that you're dealing with, you're able to express your emotion with connecting those words and the feeling of the song. Maybe so much like if you're heartbroken and you listen to a power ballad and you're just like, oh man, that really hits the spot. That's that connection. Or if you're in a really, really party go mood and Youth Gone Wild by Skid Row pops up and you're just start headbanging, it's like, yes, man, this is it. Music gives you that experience, and there's so many different songs and feelings out there that it's very easy for you to resonate with, and I feel like that's probably the most important thing. So it does help, and there has been times in my life where I've been very upset. Things are happening, personal things, or whatever it may be, and music helps you get through that. Or there's times where you're partying and Pour Some Sugar on Me is on, and you can't help but bang your head and have a damn good time with your friends. So it serves so many purposes, and I feel like
Yeah.
people these days I mean, everyone listens to music, right? It's everywhere you go. Doesn't matter, where you're from and what you do. You're always listening to music. So, as an experiment, if anyone wants to try, me listening to music in languages I don't know what they're talking about. All I hear is a melody and where I have no idea what the words mean. That's pretty cool because you can really experience the music a whole different way as well, and listen to
Mm.
melodies in a whole different manner. And I feel like that's really a good growth tool. To becoming a better musician. So there's a lot of things to think about there, but definitely, yeah, music's a savior. And a lot of people, they need that, to help get them through the day.
Yeah, that's great. And what advice would you give your younger self and any other potential aspiring musicians out there to take their first step towards a career in music, potentially?
I'd say to try obtain advice from the right people, and really soak it in, and just take the time to listen to people that have experienced it and done it in the past. I'm a go getter. If I want to do something, I'm going to give it a shot, and if I feel like I know how it works, oh, hey, sometimes there's a whole new way you got to think about it. So put yourself in someone else's shoes you know, when you're doing this stuff, and as a musician up and coming, and if you're wanting to build a brand and a band and go play these shows and stuff, think about what the other person actually thinks of you and what they would want to think of you and what they would want from you, to be able to, how do I say this, understand what you're doing. Like, I play in this rock band. I'm really cool. In the 80s, all the bands were bad and they did bad stuff. And you don't need to do those things to do that, you know, to play in a cool rock band, you know. But this day and age, hold on, if you're doing those bad things, you know, or if you're having outbursts online or whatever it may be, right? If you're looking at that from a business person's perspective, that's a red flag. If you were going to go try to find a partner and they keep talking about their ex-partner and blah, 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 and you're like, hold on a second, are they even over their ex? This is weird. That's a red flag, right? In business terms and in music, there are red flags everywhere you go. And people that are in higher positions that have power to do things for you, you know, record labels, even magazines, and even yourself, Alistair. I'm sure if I'd be running amok around town and if I left a bad impression on you, you probably wouldn't want to be friends with me, and you wouldn't be wearing my shirt right now, and we wouldn't be doing this interview. You know, so all those little things matter. And sometimes, oh, it's fine, it's just a one-off thing. No, sometimes it matters a lot more than you know. And people always choose to remember the bad things over the good things. So just really keep your ground. You know, try understand business a little bit. I guess Gene Simmons is, you know, is Gene Simmons for a reason. But you know, they Kiss as a band, they understand business and how those things work, and I feel like that translates to their success. So if there's a time and place for people in the music industry to put their thinking hats on, let's say we're in primary school, we're chucking our thinking hats on, and you know, really look into a business perspective and a perspective of, I guess, what's considered what's considered being good in society. Because you know, if you're going to go the other way, there's 10 million ways it's going to bite you on the ass, if I can say the word ass.
So true, so true.
The bum. So yeah. And look, for anyone out there, like if you're wanting the advice, reach out to me, you know, on the socials and stuff. I'm happy to give you whatever advice I can give. And yeah, sure, I've probably got 1,000 things I could learn as well. But you know, my point is, I want to help out everyone that's not there to that standard yet, and how can they develop and do those things the right way. I want to help them out, and at the same time, I'm still learning too. So you know, it just goes that way. We all got to keep climbing that ladder. And you don't want to be kicking each other off the ladder. You want to be helping each other, you know, go up the ladder. And you want to make space for people to go up the ladder as well. So I'm all about that sort of stuff.
Oh, I love your heart and your vision there, Rocky. Yeah, it's all about you know, just raising people up, not tearing people down. And it's true. Like if you do that kind of thing where you tear people down in society, it's not helpful. And then, yeah, as you said, people remember the negative and all that stuff, and then it just has, yeah, like it will come back to bite you. And
100%.
It's so true.
And just be genuine in what you do, you know. If you want to be a punk rocker and you got an attitude, awesome, but be genuine in it, you know. But don't turn around and be a let's say rude for no reason. You know what I mean? Express your opinion in your music and that angst and put it into words that can connect with people. You know, but within a reasonable manner, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, that's all the questions we have for today for you, Rocky. You've been really fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And
no stress at all. Yeah.
And we're looking forward to seeing what you'll do in the near future with your albums and your tours and everything like that.
Yeah, no probs. So big announcements coming next month or late this month with the new project I'm doing, and I'll be in Japan in April for that. And then later in the year, Mystery will be going back to Japan as well. So there's going to be a lot happening. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, man.
Yeah, you too. And before we leave, just a reminder to our viewers as well, we'll leave some links in the description of this video for all Rocky's activities, so you can follow him on the socials. And also just a reminder to everyone that we will be starting the Soul Choir on the 25th of February at Camberwell Core on Bowen Street. And also after that, we'll be doing Planet Muse program as well, offering Certificate 3. It's all funded by charity, so it's all for free. So if you'd like to find out more, I'll include links in the description below so you can check that out. And thanks again, Rocky. You're a legend. It's always good to party with you, man. Keep rocking on.
No worries, brother. Take care. All the best.